Hello everyone. So I have come to the park today to do some recording because it is an absolutely gorgeous day here in England. We don't really get those very often. So I thought, well, I'll come to the park. So hopefully my mic and everything is working, and recording outside isn't something that I would do a lot of. This is very new for me. Very, very new for me. So today I really wanted to talk about faith. Okay. I have had the most wonderful journey with faith, and I have really seen God's hands turn in my life in a positive way, and I have seen the things that He has promised me come to fruition. And I hope to really inspire you all to have a similar faith to me, or at least work towards that. Now, I came from a background that wasn't religious. I wasn't raised within the church. In fact, I grew up. I had went to Sunday school and things like that as a kid, but I had grown up and actually didn't really believe in God. My adult life, my teen years, I went through like my first my confirmation, my first Holy Communion, not believing in God. It was just I did it out of, I suppose, out of expectance. We were just expected that that's what we did, so we went and we did that. So I did all of that, and I'd never really believed. And as my path has really progressed in life, and it was 2018, 2019 that I had my spiritual awakening. And although that initially brought me down the path of mediumship and working with spirit, it's actually been a case of bringing me closer to God, because that was the moment that I knew that, wow, this, man in the sky, the sky daddy that people might talk about, this is all real. Like, there is realness to all of this. There is truth to this. So that was one of the most amazing things that I was able to experience. And I have been in situations where, I converse with God directly. Sometimes I'm conversing with a messenger of God. The majority of cases, that would have been Chester Bennington, that has been with me for the last 4 or 5 years. Well, 3, 4 years. It actually probably is more 4 or 5 years now. So I have had this spectrum you know, of experiences that have really transformed my faith. And throughout my path, I have been taught to trust in the unseen. We all have this logic, and we need to see things in the real world. And I know plenty of Christians and Muslims and Jewish people as well that are in the same position where they're focused on logic. Yes, they might go to church and they believe in God and they pray, but whenever we're taken into that place of having to depend and trust in the unseen fully, and I mean defying the logic of what exactly is happening for you within the real world, it's a very, very scary thing, and lots of us really struggle with that. So, what I have experienced over the years of my journey, considering, I've been in training essentially for 7 years, going through my healing journey and being pushed down this role of prophet that I wouldn't have necessarily assigned myself to. It was only whenever I kept being told, you're a prophet, and other roads were being blocked off to me and I was being pushed down this path, that I ultimately succumbed. So, all of the things that I've had to experience prior to that have all been a test of my faith, a retest of my faith, and getting me to trust in the fact that the unseen things that go on in this world are much more stronger than the logic that we would try to follow in the real world. I have made choices, big life decisions, that have depended solely on my connection with God. I have followed paths and made I have made friends. I have cut friends off. I have sent messages. I have quit jobs. I have started new businesses. I have followed a path that has been laid down for me. And I always follow that, even whenever it really defies logic. Even whenever I have no money in my account and I'm being told to go and spend money on something, it really has blown my mind whenever I think back and reflect back on the things that I have been through and how my faith has grown in that time and how close to God it has really brought me. For me, it has really brought me to a place where I feel solely dependent on God. I feel like I have succumbed to him. I don't really know what other way to put that, but I feel like I have just absolutely succumbed to him and went down that path, and I just trust him fully. Whenever I've started reading the Bible recently, and it wouldn't have been something that I would have read a lot of before. In fact, I don't actually think I've ever read it. A good friend of mine bought me it a few years ago for my 40th birthday. So I've started to read bits of the Bible. I haven't read it from cover to cover. There's been certain books that I have read. But whenever I read some of the things in the Bible that Jesus talked about and some of the stories that are in there where it has required our ultimate faith, I feel that's where I'm at. I can't really convey it into words, the level of faith that I have in God. If I if my world was crumbling, which I guess it probably is in a way at the moment, I've had my third cancer diagnosis, my cancer has spread, I'm on the sick, I've got no way to make an income or anything. But I know that I'll be okay. I know that the doors that need to be opened for me, the people that need to come towards me in order to support me financially or, make a donation, or even the people that I need to connect with along my healing journey, everything will work out exactly as it's supposed to. That is the level of faith that I have, and that's what I'm really hoping to inspire other people to have. You may not have watched my other content, but I have posted another video on here as well, how God has told me that my cancer is going to be cured. Now, I don't know how long that's going to take. I don't know how it's going to look. Am I going to have to get really sick before that happens and then, have a near death experience and come back to tell you all that my cancer is dissolved? And I don't know if that's what's happening. I don't know if it's just going to be that I go for a scan at some stage and all of a sudden it's just disappeared. Is it going to be a gradual process? Is it going to be healed with the medicine from the doctors? I don't know. I don't know any of that. Is it going to be like a spontaneous, I get like an insight that it's just gone and that's it? We don't know. We don't know how God works, and actually it can be a hindrance to us whenever we try to apply our logic to it. I have seen this time and time again, not just on my own path but on the path that I have seen other people walk. So we see people time and time again trying to apply logic. Well, God has said this, or the psychic has said this, or I have a feeling that this is going to happen, and we try to figure out how it's going to come together. We try to figure out the path that that's going to take. That never works. I can tell you hands down, everything that I have been told about my path, and I get a lot of insight, I get a lot of information, none of it has happened in a way that I could have possibly conceived would come about. I just, there's no way that with my logical brain, my human mind, that I could have brought it together in a way that God has. And it comes together in a way that is completely inconceivably different. I am just in this space now where it doesn't matter what happens to me, I trust that I'm going to be okay. And I have that level of faith that everything is completely handed over to God. Money worries, housing worries, worries about my health, worries around my healing. Everything is just handed over to God completely. One of the things that He really asks of me in return is that I do the things that I'm supposed to do. He would obviously call that obedience. In the Bible, it's probably talked about as obedience. The way that I experience that is I would be guided to doing certain things on my path, or I would be told, and actually, my cancer journey is probably a prime example of that. It is very much a case of, Gemma, I'm going to heal you. Your cancer will go away and you won't have to worry about your cancer throughout the rest of your life. However, you need to do this, that, and the other. And that might be drink lots of water, cut out coffee, and maybe don't have cheese. It might be that, and get out every day and go for a walk in the park. Okay, so I know I'm not walking at the minute, but obviously I'm still in the park. So there would be things that I would be asked to do in order for to get that, the grace of God coming to me. And it's all to help me on my own journey, to help me on my own personal healing journey. Everything that God has led me into that maybe hasn't worked out, it's always been for my benefit. So there's always been a really big healing that has come, or I've been triggered in some way in order to uncover some sort of emotional upset underneath, or a hidden wound that I didn't know was there. And that still hasn't broken my faith. It still has me question things on occasion. It certainly has done in the past. But now that I've understood the pattern and I understand how God works, sometimes His love and His guidance and direction comes in a way that maybe isn't the big cuddle that we're looking for. It's maybe the slap around the face or things failing because we needed to experience that in order to learn the lesson and to redirect us. And I think that's the really important thing. And I don't conscribe to a specific religion. I don't, label myself as a Christian or anything like that. And you don't even have to be thinking of God. You could be thinking to yourself, the universe, source, whatever your beliefs are, start to have some faith. Because I can tell you now that whenever you start to bring faith into your life, that will completely change your life for the better. And I'm not saying that you're going to have all of the abundance that you ever wanted and everything is going to happen for you overnight. I mean that through the challenges, you will feel held and supported in ways that you have never experienced before. I'm 41 now, and I can tell you that my life is so much better having God in it than what it ever was before. Just that level of faith. Everything that I have been promised, I have either had come to fruition very quickly or I have seen start to come to fruition over a longer period of time. And I want to share that with everybody. I want to inspire you all to be able to develop that for yourself. We have so many institutions and religions and all of these different branches that, you know, we, we we have the option to go and join, and we can become religious. We can attach ourselves to a particular church or institution, and essentially that we don't need to do that. That is a personal choice. That is completely up to you. In my experience and what I have been taught from God directly, faith is a very personal thing. And the institutions that exist in today's world aren't necessarily ones that have been put there by God. Okay, which I know is quite hard for some people to swallow. We've got so many different churches and religions and things like that. How possibly could they have all been, put there by one person as the whole truth and the one divine truth? We have all of this in place that it serves people in the best way possible for each part of their journey. But what God really wants us to do is build this internal sovereignty, this fact that we can depend on ourselves and that we don't need to go through another person. You don't need to go and confess your sins to a priest in order to get access to God. You can all communicate. You can communicate with God yourself. You can develop that connection and nurture that connection. You know, God talks to us all in so many different ways. And yes, I'm so lucky to have the connection that I have, where I'm hearing, I'm seeing, I'm getting all of this constant wisdom, because this happens to me on a daily basis, and it's pretty much a constant thing that I have experienced whenever I have opened up to my gifts and really accepted my path. But that doesn't mean that you can't talk to God and hear from God too. He will talk to you through music. He will talk to you through your dreams. I have a lot of vivid dreams, and even though He can talk to me in other ways, I still have the dreams coming every night. He will talk to you through messages that come through from other people. You will hear something on the TV that just sparks something in your head, and He's trying to get a message through to you. And yes, I talk about Him as a He. That's probably for a few different reasons. So one, He does come through to me as a male energy, but that's possibly as well because that's how I expect Him to come through, because of my preconceived notion, I guess, from childhood, and what God looked like, and in touch with the religion. It's a him, it's a he. So I don't, there's no significance or importance for you having that information. I wanted to share all of that with you, because faith has changed my life for the better. Faith is something that you can build up gradually, or you can continue to build upon depending on where you're at in your journey. And the one thing that I would really say to you is, if you're looking for a test of your faith, if you lost your job today, or your house was being possessed, right? Think of those two major things in life. The upset in the home. We've lost our mode of income, or we've lost our home, and we have no means to refinance another one. What would your initial thought be, and how would you be feeling? Would you feel calm? Would you be feeling, well, God has me. God has me here. I know that I'll be fine. Or would you be in panic? Would you be thrown into a tailspin and thinking to yourself, well, I need to take action. I need to get a new job. I need to, I need to figure this solution out. I need to make stuff happen. I need to open doors and push through things. How would you be feeling? Because if you're not in a state of calmness where you are thinking to yourself, well, it's okay, God has me, then I would encourage you to work on your faith, because being in that state of calm is an amazing place to be. And that is the place where miracles happen. It's funny. So I mentioned that I've been reading the Bible. There is a part in Mark, and I think it's Mark 11, and Jesus is actually saying about, it's something along the lines of, if you tell the mountain to go and throw itself into the water, the ocean, and you believe that it's possible, and you fully believe that this is going to happen, then it will happen. That is the level of faith that you need to have, that whatever you are being told is going to happen, or whatever you want to happen, or whatever you need to happen, that it is going to happen. And that is where your life will completely change. I actually liken it to manifestation. Whenever we hear people talking about, well, you can manifest your reality, you can manifest whatever you want, you have to believe that it is possible. You have to believe that you have the capability to do that in order for it to happen. And I always I giggle to myself a little bit, because I suppose I've experienced the full spectrum of working in the spiritual community, and also witnessing people that are within very religious communities and not necessarily liking the idea of manifestation or tarot cards or anything like that. So I suppose I've experienced the full spectrum there. And I always giggle to myself now, because after reading the parts of the Bible that I have read, I can see clearly that actually manifestation was in the Bible. We just didn't call it manifestation. So these new age things that people are teaching, and the spirituality of today, isn't really that different to what Jesus was teaching in the Bible. All we've done is attach a different label to it. But I can tell you that faith is real. Your faith will move mountains. Your faith will transform your life. And I would love to hear your stories of how that has actually happened with you as well. Okay, so comment below. You can contact me on email. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok, so you can get in touch with me there as well, and follow me for other content. And don't forget to like and subscribe as well. If subscribe to my page, and you'll get alerts to anything new that comes up. But also, if you hit like, or if you drop a comment in, it does help the algorithm know that this is something that other people are, should be listening to, and something that other people can actually connect in with as well. So I really hope that has given you some inspiration. I'm going to probably head back home now. I need to go and get my little dog and take her for a walk. I didn't want to bring her with me now, because she's a bit fidgety. She gets a little bit anxious. She barks at other dogs. So I would have had to keep a good hold of her while I was recording. So I thought, well, I'll come and I'll record, and I can always pop back to the house and get her and take her for a little walk. So I'll do that shortly. Just enjoy my time off, enjoy my recovery. I'm waiting for an appointment with the oncology doctor to figure out what my treatment plan is going to look like. It doesn't look like they're going to do surgery at the minute for my for my cancer, but I'll get talking to oncology and see where we go from there. So it's just a couple of weeks away yet for my appointment. I'm not doing private sessions or anything like that. I would be very open to speaking opportunities if they come up, but right now I'm just going to still do content whenever I'm feeling really pulled towards doing content, and I'm going to be focusing on myself at the rest of the time, and focusing on my own healing journey, and continuing to gather wisdom as I go. Okay, so it's been lovely having you here. Thank you so much. You can buy my book as well if you click the link in my bio, and you can have a look at that, or I pin the comments below as well. You can actually buy my book on Amazon, and it is Wisdom Proverbs for Today. It is a new take on the book of Proverbs, all channeled from God, all wisdom that can help us overcome challenges in life, and wisdom that can help us actually enjoy life better and become better people. So you can check that out. It has been a pleasure. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and thank you very much for being here.